So while the most of Canadians feel obligated to loathe on their southern neighbors with this tariff war, being told to by the mainstream media, being told to stand against the tyrannicalness of the United States in the means of hockey fights, booing at national anthems, to the point of screaming at other Canadians because they bought Tropicana orange juice. But it didn't stop Canadian politicians from taking that opportunity to cozy up to U.S. talk shows. Interesting. I thought we are supposed to be angry at our United States counterparts. I thought we are supposed to be proudly Canadian, defiant against the Americans. But turns out everyone from Justin Trudeau to Mark Carney to Jagmeet Singh to Pierre Poilievre to Chrystia Freeland all came forward to U.S. counterparts, to the U.S. media sphere of CNN and cable outlets, to talk shows like Bill Maher here, to make the case for Canada and scold you Americans for voting this behemoth monster that is attacking us with tariffs. So here is Chrystia Freeland on Bill Maher's real-time show on HBO. Now, interesting enough, Chrystia Freeland is no stranger to the show. She has been a contributor for quite some time now. Bill Maher is very much aware of her, in the regards that they almost are simpatico towards each other, not just because they're old kind of liberal establishment types. They're billionaire class for how many years, and they just don't see the ethos of the rest of the world, the real struggles of working class people. But here is Bill Maher gushing it up with Chrystia Freeland and giving her a tongue bath in the face of the fact that she could potentially be the next Prime Minister of Canada, according to Bill Maher's eyes. And who better to take on a tyrannical force like Donald Trump, who was supposed to apparently axe this guy from show business. If you remember his conversation with Robert De Niro, they're not supposed to be working, apparently. Donald Trump was supposed to limit them from movies and TV shows, which never came to be. So here's what happened with Bill Maher and Chrystia Freeland, just showing the absolute disregard to the whole situation in just typical neoliberal spirit fashion. Watch this.
But I mean, the truth is, this has helped your campaign. I mean, you were the Liberals. Now, you're about to have the primary, basically, is how we would describe it. If you get that, because Trudeau's out, he's already quit, you were in his cabinet, you would become then the Liberal leader. And then in the election, if you won, now the Liberals were way behind in the polls until Trump did this. He kind of saved your ass.
See, now that would be the case in a typical democracy, but here in Canada, we like to shake things up. See, what happens is you get a tyrannical prime minister for over a decade. He announces his resignation, but yet he doesn't leave his position because he wants to take the tax dollars to fly around the world to still continuously make decisions for the country while making a lackluster decision process in electing the new party leader in this bizarre case scenario where you silenced out your competitors and you're duking it out between which globalist is the better one. And while in the process, you crumbleized your country to the point that another foreign leader is looking at said country and is telling you directly to your face that you need to smarten up. And you take that as a personal attack, as a vendetta, to the point that you are now exploiting the country that you're supposed to be representing as a means to go after another world leader. That's the democracy that we have currently in Canada. Not representing the people of Canada, but representing the neoliberal established order. That's why right now the top contributors are Mark Carney, who wants to be coordinated in, not be elected, just go right in and push Trudeau off his feet to proceed the reins, and Chrystia Freeland, who blocked bank accounts, remember, and giggled about it. So here's the rest.
Is that not true?
I think that the election now, the ballot question in the Liberal leadership race and in the general election is who can stand up for Canada and who can fight for Canada. And
But it's just...
And that's...
And sometimes the best way to fight for Canada is to completely ignore it, to the point that it becomes a crime-ridden hellhole, a corrupted plutocracy, to the point that we're entering a feudalistic state. That's the best way to defend a country, right? Is just to completely ignore it like a colic baby. Eventually, they're just going to cry out eventually. You know, when they're finished starving and lining up at food banks, realizing that our currency is plummeting, that our economy is collapsing, that these tariffs on top of taxation is completely crippling the middle class stature of Canada and the working class economy of Canada. That's the best way to represent the country, right? And then to tell said people that speak out against it that you're a bunch of Nazis, that you're a bunch of fascists, that you're a bunch of right-wingers, that you need your bank account scrutinized.
Like the pitch I'm making, Bill,
Right.
is I'm saying to Canadians, I can fight for you and I can win.
Right, but as soon as the conservative here in America said he was going to invade Canada, suddenly the conservatives in Canada didn't look too good. I mean, the guy you will be running against, Pierre... How do we say his name? Pierre...
Well, I call him Maple Syrup MAGA or Mini Trump.
Okay, well, of course, that doesn't help with my pronunciation.
Sorry.
And also...
It doesn't help with his pronunciation, and it doesn't help to describe who Pierre Poilievre truly is, because I think people would be more happier if he was more of a mega participant, if he was more populist than just the rhetoric and the eating of an apple in front of a reporter. But as we're seeing more and more Pierre Poilievre, we're seeing more and more of the status quo in action. And as I remind people of all walks of life here in Canada, no matter what political party takes office, no matter what political party you vote for or idolize in this blind support, they all operate under the same roof. They all operate under the same structure of the WEF, of the neoliberal order, of the tyrannicalness of the oligarchy, the globalized oligarchy that has eroded this country to the point that Canada is no longer a nation. It's an asset on a banker's list. And the fact that we are so scared of America taking our sovereignty, but yet we have never, ever got angered at the reckoning of our sovereignty from international conglomeracies, investors, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, the WEF, Klaus Schwab, penetrating Trudeau's cabinet. Nobody mentioned about sovereignty then. But the thoughts of the big orange man is so catastrophic that, of course, we're going to be defiant to defend Canada by not defending Canadians. So, see the rest of this. And, of course, Bill Maher is not going to challenge her. Bill Maher's just going to completely give her a tongue bath. Oh, yeah, that's so great. You're going after this Paul Pierre, whatever his name is. You're going to be like a you're going to be a good girl against someone like Donald Trump. Oh, yeah, it's just going to be the same BS as usual, right?
Like, you know what? This is sad to me that everybody becomes more like America in our worst kind of ways. I remember seeing an ad not that long ago when I was playing up in Canada. It was campaign season. It was almost comically polite. Whoever Trudeau was running against. I mean, it was ridiculous. They certainly weren't calling each other names. But I hear this guy, Pierre...
Poilievre.
Poilievre. I had it with the poutine. It's terrific.
I heard you talking about bilingualism.
Okay.
That's actually our thing.
I know.
We are bilingual.
Right.
Yeah.
But who is this guy? I never heard of him. I mean, I should maybe, but I try to follow a little bit of Canada. Who is he? And he sounds very Trumpy. I mean, this is sad to me that people in Canada are losing their polite.
Well, Well, I think it's sad for us too, and he is pretty Trumpy, and I think he built a campaign on trying to imitate Trump. But now that Canadians see President Trump wanting to turn us into the 51st state, it's not going so well. And look, Canadians are very smart, and Canadians understand that right now what we need the most is someone who can stand up for our country.
I would argue and say that Canadians are so smart that they wouldn't use Trumpy as an adjective for someone. Unless you're talking about the shit libs on Twitter that are constantly raining havoc on me. The fact that I even mention, give any sort of notation of why these tariffs even exist and why Canada should be looking towards ourselves and how we should improve our aesthetic to better deal with this situation. Oh my God, the Twitter sphere, the social media brats just go haywire over it. That somehow I'm sounding Trumpy. Because I recognize that, yes, we do have a fentanyl problem. Yes, we do have crime sprees that are happening. Yes, our economy is crumbling. And people are lining up at food banks constantly while we're sending a slush fund of money to foreign nations. Not only foreign nations, but foreign nations that we know are completely corrupted. And just even to bring that to light, bring a fresh breath of air to that, triggers the just outmost out of the establishment, the liberals, the conservatives, the people that are so blinded by what is actually happening. Just like this conversation here. They're so completely blinded by the fact that this is Bill Maher, who, despite all of his flaws, despite of everything that this man represents, and there's a lot that we can pick and prime out of Bill Maher and the rhetoric that he said over the past how many years, he has been one of the very few people that spoke out against COVID and the restrictions and the mandates. He's awoken to it. So you would think a man like him, a character like that, why would you sit across from this lock them up? This, I'm going to use tyrannical force. I was part of the administration that cracked down on peaceful protesters engaging against the mandates. Why would you sit across from them and give her a tongue bath when you should be holding her account to the fact that she was one of the architects in establishing the Emergency Powers Act to go against Canadians, to arbitrarily go after their bank accounts for protesting, for peacefully protesting, engaging one another, and actively, peacefully protesting against the tyrannical mandates. But Bill Maher completely memory holes that, completely shuts out of that. Oh, you know, she's a friend of mine. She was a former contributor, and she's going to be the exact same BS establishment, status quo BS that we've always had. So, yeah, I would love for her to take on, you know, that Pierre, Paul, Mary, Joseph, whatever his name is, and Donald Trump. So, that was just one part of the conversation because it went further on, folks. Bill Maher then went on to his podcast show, Club Random. Oh, what happened?
By the way,
We'd love to.
So Bill Maher went on to Club Random with this guy here. I don't remember his name here, but the mention of Chrystia Freeland came up again. And Bill Maher is so lovey-dovey around her that just the mention of Chrystia Freeland gives him this, you know, warm feeling inside of how great she'd be, how much of her presence would be such a great force for Canadians, even though Bill Maher has no idea what Canadians are dealing with. Listen to this.
Way,
We'd love to have you, Bill.
my girl, Chrystia Freeland, and I say my girl like I'm really close and I'm not, but
You should.
My girl, Chrystia Freeland. My girl. Easy, Casanova. Easy, Casanova. I know you share some great exemplars of neoliberal patriotism to serve the state and serve the oligarchy and never actually challenge the masters will be. I know she's your darling of debonair against someone like Trump, but there's no need to go Rat Pack, call her my girl, like it's the 50s. You hear that? That's just crazy.
way,
We'd love to have you, Bill.
my girl, Chrystia Freeland, and I say my girl like I'm really close and I'm not, but
You should move to Canada, by the way.
no, but she used to be on Real Time,
Okay.
and now
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? My girl, Chrystia Freeland, she's quite something else. And then the guy says, "Well, you should consider moving to Canada." No. Why not, Bill? Why not, Bill? What? If Chrystia Freeland was running the country, would you not consider moving to Canada? What does Canada not offer you enough, Bill? But no, I'm gonna be the arbiter to decide what's best for the nation that I know nothing about and not willing to actually partake with. Okay. Let's play this all throughout, no stopping, and see what this.
by the
goes
way,
on.
We'd love to have you, Bill.
my girl, Chrystia Freeland, and I say my girl like I'm really close and I'm not, but
You should move to Canada, by the way.
no, but she used to be on Real Time,
Okay.
and now she's going to be the prime minister.
Okay.
I'm a big fan.
Okay.
She was always great on the show. I mean,
Who is it?
Chrystia Freeland.
Oh, Chrystia Freeland. Oh, yes, right. I didn't hear you were talking about Chrystia Freeland. She's been on Real Time. She's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, well, let's
She
see what
was the
happens.
minister.
Is
she
that
was a minister. I forget what department, but she was very important
finance, I believe.
in the Trudeau government.
She's my girl. She's my lady. I don't know what friggin' department she was in. This is. I can't believe the utter stupidity of some people just openly just exerting just their utter unacknowledgement, their utter arrogance to the situation. Oh yeah, Chrystia Freeland is awesome and so great. I don't know anything about her. She worked for some department in Trudeau. I don't know, but she's a nice woman, and because of a smile, obviously that's good enough to run the country. Not knowing that she was the former finance minister that crumbled this nation in further escalating debt to the point that she announced her resignation at the same time she was supposed to deliver the fall economic report. Because she's such a great woman that she didn't want to take responsibility for the increased debt that her and Trudeau have encapsulated. That's not my problem. I resigned. That's Bill Maher's girl. My girl, Chrystia Freeland, who's been on the show so many times, but what position she there?
And then quit.
Yeah.
And said she basically didn't believe in him anymore. And
that come up and campaign on her behalf?
That to me is the woke versus liberal debate in Canada, the one I'm having here.
Yeah.
And I'm her.
Yeah.
You think I'm her?
Do you think she could be she could be an
I hope so.
Yeah.
So, Bill Maher believes that the reason Chrystia Freeland made the decision to resign, he's trying to make it into a woke versus liberal debate. That's something I know of. No, what Chrystia Freeland, on that day that she was supposed to give the economic statement, the reason that she resigned is because it was an absolute catastrophe for the Liberal Party. They knew that they were in a farce. They knew that they were declining. They knew that they have completely decimated the entire institution of Canada to the point that they were playing hot potato on who to blame for it. Well, I didn't make up the judgment. She did. No, she did. No, he did. No, he did. No, he did. So everybody shuffled around their cabinet positions, resigned, refusing to get reelected, said, screw this, I'm out of here, didn't want anything to do with Justin Trudeau. There was so much in-party fighting, not because of the woke and culture war clash, although maybe that could be a contributor of just personal vindictions against Trudeau. But the real problem that this is no one wanted to take responsibility. Nobody. Nobody wanted to take blame for being part of a disastrous administration that almost killed Canada to its knees. And now Chrystia Freeland, who wants to pretend that she's completely done with Trudeau, that she's signed the divorce papers, that she's gone her separate ways, but yet still contributes to the WEF, still contributes to the worst of the worst that caused the deception of this country, the complete decline. And Bill Maher has no idea about this. That's why Bill Maher can sit there like an arrogant chump and say that Chrystia Freeland's my girl. Because she went on the show numerous times. She had a nice smile in a suit jacket. Yeah. Oh, yeah, she knows how to lead. The same guy who said he was looking at Amy Klobuchar. Remember that? I'm looking hard at Amy Klobuchar. Because, you know, Bernie Sanders and Liz Warren and all these other people that are saying things and words, that's done and over with. I'm looking for the middle ground that will shut their face and don't do anything for people. I'm looking for just the status quo to remain so that I maintain my billionaire status and the rest of you slums become serfs. That's the kind of character that Bill Maher is. So, Jasmine Lane made the statement saying the fact that the entire liberal debacle, the fact that the entire liberal debate largely focused on Trump rather than our own country shows you as clear as day the only thing neoliberals have in common, they have no new plans. None. None whatsoever. They are all a part of the same team. They will make you focus on the scary threats to keep them in power longer, rather than focus on the reason why those threats are so serious for our country. Exactly. And that is why they're going to prolong as much of this tariff war, as much as this trade, as much as it's going to hurt the country, they're going to keep it going as long as possible to maintain power. Because right now, the Liberal Party is somehow gaining a bit of popularity, thinking that people are just going to memory hole and pigeonhole the fact that we wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for them. If it wasn't for their wrongdoings, if it wasn't for the fact that they completely destroyed the country to the point that a U.S. president looked inwards and said, you guys straighten up because you having open borders, you having this flow of fentanyl is affecting my country and I'm not having it. So get your shit together or we're going to put tariffs on. And the Liberal Party just completely ignored that threat. And now we're dealing with tariffs. Now we're dealing with this situation. And they're exploiting every point in turn to gain more votes in the falsehoods that they're going to go against Trump. They're not. They're not. Ever. Because their common goal is to not have any plans whatsoever. Their goal is to maintain the status quo. Maintain the destruction of Canada as part of this corporate alliance globalist agenda that seizes countries, that demises their sovereignty, demises their security, demises their economic presence. and converts them into this feudalistic society. That's what's happening, folks. That's what's happening. So, Wiretap Media reminds us that a Canadian banking CEO told Chrystia Freeland to unleash the military on the Freedom Convoy to crush legal dissent in Canada, and the minister agreed with the course of action. So, for someone like Bill Maher, who's supposedly very, very, very much on defense of free speech, although that's even questionable for Bill Maher's sake, him to be this force for defending free speech, knowing that Chrystia Freeland did this to the Freedom Convoy, how can you still invite her on, give her a tongue bath, and call her your girl? Oh, you're such a great presence. You're so great. You're so wonderful. I completely forgot that you were the minister that locked out people's bank accounts. I completely forgot about that. Although pretend finance minister Chrystia Freeland denied under oath she agreed to utilize military personnel to guard the borders, the emailed communication between the two parties clearly outlines a different story. So isn't it funny that they'll guard the borders and they'll care about border protection when it's Canadians shutting down the border because it's going to disrupt trade? It's going to disrupt the capitalist system. They get frantic about that. That was what started this whole thing. As soon as the border was in question, oh my God, we got to take down this protest. We got to take down this Freedom Convoy. They're a bunch of terrorists. They're a bunch of neo-Nazis now because they're disrupting capitalism. But it's okay to have open borders and flood neighboring communities across Canada. That's okay. We don't have to guard the borders there. We don't have to guard the borders from the drug cartels that have been pouring into Canada. But no, the minute the Canadians lock down the border, that's when they decide to take border security up a bit. Isn't that that's amazing to me? On February 14, 2022, when the government announced the invocation of the Emergencies Act, former Justice Minister David Lametti claimed that the Canada is a rule of law country by declaring a public order emergency under the Emergencies Act. They were following the law and acting within it. So they used the Emergencies Powers Act, something that has been used since wartime, to enact war against Canadians. And the former Justice Minister, who has since resigned, also being part of the Trudeau cabinet shuffle, said it was okay because they were following the rules. They were following the rules to attack their own citizens that were engaging peacefully against medical tyranny, against mandates, against stuff that Bill Maher used to be calling out. But now he's a good little boy. He's back to his good little wholesome self because HBO will have his way with him if he bothers to question it. Look at Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart questioned the origin of the COVID virus, and all of a sudden he had to go pin a medal on a Nazi. He had to get a tongue back to Hillary Clinton and Condoleezza Rice. He had to further lie about COVID. It shows you the type of people the mainstream media are. However, the private sector cannot influence government policy, which much less government to unleash the military on Canadians who disapprove of government mandates. The Accountability Project is seeking out justice for Canadians impacted by government's illegal use of Emergencies Measures Act. So, is Chrystia Freeland still your girl, Bill Maher? Or are you just going to further memory hole the fact that she was part of this? She was one of the chief architects for this. She was one of the resounding people that lied under oath, lied to you, lied to Canadians about her measures in implementing this Emergencies Act to freeze bank accounts, to take people's finances hostage, to silence out people, to manufacture consent for big pharmaceuticals. Bill Maher does not say a word about this. Bill Maher wants to completely memory hold it, shun it away, and call her how great she is. But luckily for Wiretap Media and the rest of Canada here, we all remember this, and let's go down a bit of that memory lane.
Canada is a rule of law country. By declaring a public order emergency under the Emergencies Act, we are following the law, and we are acting within it. There are clear conditions set out.
We're not using the Emergencies Act to call in the military.
Canada's reputation is indeed at risk. We need to show the world proactively that we won't let this happen again. Our trade corridors will remain open. We should think about putting the military in place to keep the border crossings moving, even after the protesters were removed, to send a clear signal. And your response though here is couldn't agree more with those points. We must make clear that 1, we will resolve this, and 2, we won't let this happen again. So can you explain your response there? And were you agreeing there that bringing the military to patrol the borders was a viable option?
No.
Okay.
It was, I mean, look, if you look at that.
The exchange goes on to talk, you say, and the CAF if necessary. Mr. Mendicino writes, how many tanks are you asking for? I just want to ask Anita how many we've got on hand. You respond, I reckon 1 will do. On February 2nd, or at any other point, were you seriously suggesting that CAF be brought in, or that there be tanks brought in to Ottawa to deal with the situation?
No.
There you go. They lied under oath after all the testimonies that they did to try to hold them accountable. They lied to you. They consistently lied to you, and they're still lying to you. And much like Chrystia Freeland's doing right now, trying to memory hold Canadians by making her supporters forget the fact that she is a villain, that she is a heinous monster against Canadians' charters of rights and freedoms, that she did not uphold them. She's not protecting people. She is the cynical monster that brought us to this misery, that brought us to this despair. And people like Bill Maher don't bring that to attention. Don't bring that to attention. Don't really care about it. Vaguely even know a type of character that Chrystia Freeland is, but yet will go on and gush for minutes on end about how great she is because, oh, she also hates Trump. Oh, she's so wonderful. I mean, she's wearing a nice dress and she's got a smile, and oh, she also hates Trump and MAGA and populism. Ha ha ha. Oh, she's my girl. My girl. Just showing the utter arrogance and the compliance of the upper class, of the top 1%, the billionaire class that people like Bill Maher have been a part of for many, many years. And that's why he's able to just switch out of a whim to the fact that, oh, you remember all the stuff that I mentioned about COVID and how awful and the tyrannical force and free speech, and yeah, forget all that. Chrystia Freeland's great. Chrystia Freeland is so great. I don't know anything about Canada. I don't know anything about her position or what she's done, but she's got to be the next prime minister. Because we both hate Trump. We both hate Trump so much. So that obviously that's a class act. Not knowing the fact that she's frozen people's bank accounts, taking people hostage of their finances, restricting their freedoms and civil rights here in Canada, almost tripled the amount of debt that this country has dealt with, failing to take responsibility, lied under oath, has consistently lied on camera and to the press. She's just an absolute monster. An absolute monster. But Bill Maher is willing to look the other way and ignore all that memory hole and shut out all of that information because he works for HBO. And it's just absolutely hilarious, too, just to remind people that while you're supposed to be angry at the United States under this tariff war, you're supposed to be angered and loathed, not only just on the tariff war, but how dare they not continue on a proxy war? How dare they decide diplomacy? While they're telling you to loathe and hate and vilify the United States, look how many politicians go on the average talk show, the average news show in America, and gucking up with the anchors, gucking up with the talk show hosts like Bill Maher. I thought you're supposed to hate them. Oh, no, it's okay, because they also hate Trump, too.